Hi, everyone. Good morning. This is Chris Gardea coming to you from Los Angeles area with the International Association of Woodcarvers. Today we're doing a presentation. I'm one of the members of the Brotherhood of the Blade, which is scout leaders that teach wood carving across the country. And today we're going to walk you through carving a neckerchief slide for the Boy Scouts. So welcome.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the International Association of Woodcarvers. Today is the 19th of April, 2025, and we appreciate y'all taking time out as usual to come in and meet with us. Want to say thank you again for joining us. I know it's been a couple of weeks since we've had meetings. I had a birthday that came and went, which I was happy about. Had a few other things. Was down in Charlotte at the Charlotte show down there, first weekend of April. And it was a good time and a nice little break, so I appreciate that. But here we are back this Saturday with Chris Gardea down in LA, out in California. He's going to be on with us here in just a few minutes. Before we get started, though, I'll tell you about some things that are coming up so you all kind of know what the schedule is going to be for us. Next Saturday, Tyler Borg's going to be on with us. Now, Tyler's an instructor that's going to be out in Utah at the Rocky Mountain Carvers Roundup with us in May. And he's going to come on and talk to us about some of his carvings, show us some of his work, and hopefully we can get a few more people signed up for his class out there. Joe Savarsi is going to be on the 3rd of May. He's going to be talking about carving ball and cage, type carvings, anything in a cage is what he told me. He's going to be talking about that, doing a demonstration. Met him up in Pennsylvania, so I look forward to having him back in, or having him in. Joshua Walters is coming back with us on the 10th of May. He's going to be doing whimsical houses this time. He carves whimsical houses, cottonwood bark, caricatures. He does the bases. He's got the business with the tool totes. So again, he'll be back on the 10th. Then the next 2 weekends, that's going to be the weekends where we're going to be traveling to Utah for the Rocky Mountain Carvers Roundup and then traveling home. So we probably won't have meetings those 2 weekends. We'll be back on the 31st. And I just saw her come in the room a few minutes ago. Carla Harmon's going to be with us on May 31st. Dale Kirkpatrick, who I saw is in the room as well, is going to be presenting on the 7th of June. And Greg Weimer is going to be with us on the 14th of June. So as you can tell, we got quite the lineup coming up. Look forward to having all these presenters, and hopefully it's some new people that you haven't seen before with some new content so that we can, again, share wood carving with other carvers. I'll tell you about some classes that are coming up. Janet Cordell's got a class starting in May. Eleanor's window. If you're interested in signing up for Janet's class, reach out to her and get signed up there. Again, that's May the 5th. Dwayne Gosnell's got 2 classes lined up. One's on May the 13th and the other's on June the 10th. If you want to sign up for his classes, reach out to Dwayne. You can find his website at dgosnellwoodcarving.com, and he'll be happy to get you signed up for those classes. I think those classes are being held on Tuesdays. And again, the classes usually only run 2 weeks. So again, if you're interested in those, reach out to Dwayne and get signed up there. Before we get started with Chris, I'll tell you about a couple of other seminar opportunities coming up. Talked to Kevin Applegate this week, and the CCA still has their carving seminar in Converse, Indiana. That's coming up on August the 16th and 17th. If you're in the area and you have the opportunity to go, sign up to carve with Mitch Cartledge and Rich Weatherby. If you want more information about that, reach out to Kevin Applegate. It's kapplegate12@gmail.com, and he'll be able to give you the information about those seminars there in Converse, Indiana. I'll remind you about CCA Carving the Rockies show out in Colorado Springs, Colorado. That'll be quickly approaching. It's in September, and I know it feels like it's a few months off, but it'll be here before you know it. It's September 20th and 21st, Colorado Springs. Again, if you plan on coming out there, plan on participating in some of the events that we have. Ugly cowboy competition, carve any cowboy that you want to. Doesn't matter how ugly he is, but the uglier the better. You want to make sure you bring your carving for that. There's a special category this year on pirates and swashbuckles. So again, if you want to participate in that, you need to go ahead and get started on those carvings so that you'll have them ready for the show. There's a competition, silent auction. You'll be able to see all kinds of carvings out there, opportunities to buy carvings from CCA members. So try to make plans to be out there for that. Having said all of that, today we've got with us Mr. Dave Stetson's going to be coming in to do our words of wisdom. So Dave, I'll go ahead and turn this over to you.
Hey, thanks, Blake. Hey, everybody. This is a quote from Mark Twain, and we didn't even live at the same time. So I was trying to figure out how the hell he wrote this about me. But his quote is, it's better to keep your mouth closed and let people think you're a fool than to open it and remove all doubt.
All right. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate that for sure. Again, today we got on Chris Gardea. He's going to be coming to us again from Los Angeles County, I believe he said, out in California. Before I turn it over to him, I'll tell you a little bit about an auction that we're going to be doing. Hopefully you saw the pictures out on social media. Chris has graciously donated a hat, a neckerchief slide carving, what he calls a step board, and a study stick. So it's all 4 pieces. I'm sure he'll be talking about those in the meeting here in a few minutes. Those are available for auction. All the proceeds go to benefit our meetings with the International Association of Wood Carvings. So as usual, put your bid in the chat. High bid will win at the end of the meeting. Chris will ship all the stuff out to you on Monday. And again, Chris, thank you for your donations. And thanks for coming on and presenting today. I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, my friend.
Can you hear me? Is it all good?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay. All these things just popped up. Hey, welcome everybody. Thanks for tuning in. And we'll get started real quick. This is about carving a neckerchief slide today. And just so we get the nomenclature right, this is the neckerchief, right? This is what, scouts wore around their neck. This is the one the troop I'm with currently wears. It celebrates our 70 years of scouting. We're based in Whittier, California, which is where I grew up. This is the slide, so it's carved, and this is actually that's one that is up for auction. It's signed and dated and stuff, and you can see behind me is a bunch of carved slides. Some are by me, some are actually older than I am. Some of these are from the 50s and 60s. But I'm definitely a student of slide carving. It's part of Brotherhood of the Blade, which is really all we are is we're a group of scout leaders that deliver wood carving program, which wood carving is a merit badge. But I know a lot of you were scouts at some time, whether you made it to Cub Scout, whatnot. I am an Eagle Scout. I'm a #2 Eagle Scout in a family of 5 Eagles, including my son. My parents bought into scouting all the way. I also have my 2 daughters are Girl Scout Gold Awards. And then I say scouting took my firstborn. My oldest daughter is the marketing and social media rep for the Scouts of Los Angeles. So we're in the program. I still serve. This 53 years of scouting right now. My passion, actually scouting gave me 2 things. It gave me a great hobby, which is wood carving, which I started when I got my first Cub Scout knife at like 9 years old. And then I have an older brother watching him carve a neckerchief slide. That got me hooked. Boys Life magazine had slide of the month articles, which showed you a different pattern every month. And I was hooked on that. And that's why I have this one box has 150 slides in it. I have 4 boxes like this. And I usually take them on display when I go do a talk for scouts and scouting history. But also, I probably have enough to put another couple boxes together. But so the neckerchief slide, the 3 questions I get asked the most is, what does the back look like? So that's the back. It's just a little ring, a wooden ring I glue on there. That's a slide I did of Tonto, the Johnny Depp Tonto. And then some people will do PVC. They'll do JB Weld or whatever, or construction adhesive, put PVC on the back. That's a Jeff Springer slide. He was one of the granddaddies of Boy Scout carving. This is Ed Chobe slide. He's my old-time Scout carving hero. He made it all integral. It was all one block of sugar pine, and that's the ring that you put the scarf or the neckerchief through. But this slide is older than I am. It's probably 60 plus years old. You go on eBay now, the prices are in the $300 range. I'm thankful that I knew what I saw when they weren't that crazy a price. I think my wife's more thankful too. Again, here's another old Ed Chobe Chief slide. I like he always had that side-eye look. But again, sugar pine with the little loop integrated right into the back of that. You can see he carved on the corner, that face corner. I carve a lot of native faces on the corner. The other options for these, if you're making a bolo tie, there's the clip I use, and then these are the tips. Some people carve their tips like Bill Birch and Guy Nelson, Matt Swan out of Nevada. He makes a lot of bolos. They use wooden tips. I use metal tips. But there's a link that they're going to have that has, I use Thunderbird Supply. They're 3 craft outfits. One's in Gallup, one's in Flagstaff, one's in Albuquerque. There's links that are going to be in this video for the tips, for the cord. It's a 4mm braided cord. I use a 42-inch style just because most of us are manly men's size, and it just fits nice. So that's what I do for a bolo, and I use a 5-minute epoxy to attach it to the back. Actually, same thing here. Back of the bolo there. This is not an Indian. This is my voodoo doctor guy, yeah, I guess he'd be a voodoo guy or whatever, witch doctor. But something different. And then I did something different for the tips. They're little metal skulls and stuff. So, just something different. The different backings. The other thing is when we teach scouts with the Brotherhood of the Blade, we normally teach, some of us teach at scout camps. I teach a class. I like to have a ratio of one teacher to 6 people. I'll go up to 8. And that's why I've built a dozen kits just with 4 tools in it. So the scouts use a 1/4-inch V tool, a 1/4-inch U gouge. I use a small flat chisel and a knife. I used to use, and most of those are either a flex cut or a Ramelson. I've bought used over the years. I'm always looking for deals on the internet. So I've been able to build actually I have 15 sets now. So, because when you're teaching a class and you hand somebody a project to earn the merit badge, you have to carve 2 projects, one in the round and one relief project. They did add a chip carving option, but they have to get a scout has to get those 3 projects. And if they come with the buck knife or the knife mom and dad bought them, it's usually not sharp enough. So we start with those tools. They have to learn to maintain them. They have to learn to identify them. I give them a practice piece of wood. Normally, a class would take about 8 hours, and we can do that, all the things we need to do. They do have to come with, some of you are familiar with the totem chip. It's in scouting, you have to show that you know how to sharpen, maintain an axe, a saw, and a pocket knife, and handle it safely. And that's a whole nother class, but I asked that the scouts come with that card signed by their scoutmaster before, so we can focus all on wood carving. And you old timers, now I know Dale Kirkpatrick and who else? I bet you your totem chip is round, right? Because I used to tease my brothers, if you mishandled your knife, they used to cut a corner off your totem chip. So if you got all 4 corners, your totem chip was round. Anyway, the other option too on the back of these, this is this one I did 15 years ago. is make a refrigerator magnet out of it. And again, these magnets, I use epoxy on the back, and they're just Walmart, Hobby Lobby, Michael's, wherever you get your magnets from. But those are the three options that you could do with this profile relief carving. With that, oh, here's the other thing. This is the step board. This is a project we're going to do today. This is an old, it's not my design. This is old. I think they called it the Scout. I know Ed Chobe designed this. Then Bob Rittmeyer, who he recently passed, he ran a business around the country selling all these little blanks. This is what it started out as. He had a rubber stamp. He would put that on there, and we would cut it out on the bandsaw. And this is what the Scouts would buy for like $2 at camp, and they would carve it. So we call this a study board, yeah. But I like Bruce Ankeny calls them a do-like. I like that better. So do like this, and it gives them the steps. Then there's this is a quick little study stick I put together, it's not original. This is based off of an Ed Chobe stick, which again, this stick is older than me. It's probably 60 years old, carved in Pennsylvania. But again, to me, he's the granddaddy of Scout carving. I will say the other granddaddy of Scout carving is Ben Hunt. If those of you who read Boys Life magazine, he was known as Whittling Jim. And he's the one who wrote all those slide articles from 1938 till he passed. And then in the late 80s, 1988, is when Jeff Springer took over. He's from, I want to say, Missouri or Kansas. And then Springer is the one who when I got involved in teaching at the Scout Jamborees, which happens every 4 years. The next one is next year, 2026. It's in West Virginia. And that's where the Brotherhood of the Blade comes together. We all volunteer to teach Scouts. Now, I started in 2005. We had 1,600 Scouts come to the wood carving booth in 10 days. And back then we had 30 instructors. So an instructor would sit at the table, have a kid would pick whatever blank they wanted to carve. They'd go sit around at the do-like, and we'd walk them through a project. And what I've learned in all these years of teaching carving to youth, I volunteer. I don't get paid. I actually pay for all the materials. I don't charge a kid to take my class. I know what it's like to go to camp and not have enough money to buy something. So I don't charge kids for stuff. I sell my slides, and that pays for all the materials and tools. So a kid doesn't have to worry about the price to take one of my merit badge classes. What I say our job is to help young people discover the pride in craftsmanship. That's my paycheck right there. A kid says, I can't do that. You walk them through how to do it, how to handle the tools, how to be safe. At the end of the day, they're just proud as can be, smiles. And I've seen kids go, I'm going to give this to my grandpa. I'm going to give this to my mom. They're just so proud of it. And that right there, that's why I'm still volunteering 53 years in, still working with Scouts. So, and again, like most of you, I started with a lot of pointy sticks with my pocket knife, but we've gotten a little more talented and detailed over the years. I said Ben Hunt. There's a lot of books out there. This is Ben Hunt. He carved slides back in the 40s and 50s. His old books. Again, my carving journey started in the 70s. There was no internet. So, it was all books. Again, there's more of these Ben Hunt books. He had all these slides. And then I know Dave Stetson always talks about, I learned from the old timers like Claude Bolton and guys like that. I discovered the clubs here in California. At the time, the California Woodcarvers Guild had about 32 chapters when I first started in getting involved in clubs in the late 80s. Now there's not quite as many, but there's still some active chapters out there. And then just doing a lot of demo and outreach with people. I've since retired. Scouting led me to a life of service, helping others as a firefighter. I spent 32 years in Los Angeles area as a firefighter paramedic. And you've seen on the news, we don't just fight fires in the city around here. Our hills go up annually every year. There's a season. So yeah, my backpacking skills came in handy from scouts as well, and sleeping in the dirt during brush fire season. But again, and I will say, I always kept a pocket knife and some wood with me, even when I got sent on a strike team, because once in a while you get some downtime in base camp. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started carving. All means, if there's any questions, jump in. Brotherhood of the Blade, Mike and Tammy Springer, they're in the Midwest. They run that for the Jamboree. So volunteers that want to help and serve at the Jamboree, and next year in West Virginia. The other things coming up in 2027, Philmont, which is the National Training Center for the Boy Scouts. It's also a huge ranch out there. Scout Ranch has been there. Scout Camp has been there. It's the largest in the world. It's been there since 1938. Phillips 66, the gas people, Oklahoma. Wade Phillips, he donated that land to the Boy Scouts in 1938. Almost 250,000 acres. And I've been there backpacking and then teaching. And we developed, in 2015, we developed a week-long wood carving course to train other adults. Like most of you, I sat in my little studio, my shop, carving my little things, and that's all I knew. But when I went to teach in Virginia at the big Scout Jamboree, I saw there's a bunch of us, and everybody has different projects from different regions. So bringing us all together, that allows me to teach Scouts other projects. So I now have this library of projects I could teach Scouts. And that, again, that's where we get develop all these stamps. We develop all these study boards. We'll sit this again at the table. The Scouts can pick what they want. We'll walk them through the project. This is another study board showing relief carving and arrowheads and things like that. This was by Bob Rittmeyer. So again, we're just we just keep moving. There's some options today. We're gonna I'll set up the camera now if you want to switch. We'll see. This is okay. How are we doing there, Dave? Levy, Blake,
Yeah,
is that
looking good so far, man? Go ahead and good position where you want. Looks like good height.
And then I just dropped everything on the floor right there, but we'll see.
Yeah, we can look at it. It's okay.
I get my glove on. One thing, let me know too. If my glove, I know sometimes with these things, gloves cause a focus issue, like with the camera. So if that's a problem, let me know.
Will do.
Start out with this guy right here. This is the stamped one. We'll use one of these. I cut these out. So for like when we teach at Scout Camp or Jamboree, so far my wood I get from scrap from a place that makes mini blinds. It is basswood. If it's free, it's for me. That's my mantra. And it comes in about this width. So it's 1 inch thick, about that width. And I try and, if I design something, I try and make it fit the free wood, right? Because I'm going to give it to the kids anyway. So, and then we'll stamp it and we'll go, and then I cut it down the middle. So this is like a 1/2 inch wide. Okay. For this, you could do it with one knife, but to make things a little easier, I usually use this is a wide V, soft V. You can see the profile right there. It's a smaller one, and then that's the large soft V. I use those for roughing out. I think I learned that from a couple guys, Dwayne Gosnell and some other guys. If you start outlining this with a V tool, you've kind of set where things are going to go, and it doesn't give you that many options. So I like to use a soft V, and then I could put in the detail later with my knife. So I'll use that, and I'll use the knife. one other thing, I think since Dave Stetson, and he's got me going on this too. I know he uses plastic, but this is kind of my basic pattern. And that way I know I've got that face laid out. And then with that, as long as I have that face laid out, I can turn that into a native with a you know, 20 years there. This is a standard. I have a stamp of this guy. He's wearing a hat. This is a, let's see. You can use that standard face to make all sorts of other options. There's that standard face, this guy. It's a different one. This is just straight butternut, just boiled. Actually, here's a different face, but this isn't done in Dwayne Gosnell style a little bit. But again, a profile, he's a little chunkier. So you can see there's all sorts of options. So something like this too, it gives me an option. I can carve the feather behind the head like it is, or I can bring it all the way down and I could put a medallion here and I could change it. So now the feathers are on this side of the head. And anytime we're carving feathers, I'll carve all the facial features as much as I can, and I'll try and save the feathers for last because it's going to be the most brittle part that could break. And you'll see, we'll shape it a little bit around the back as well, but it just gives you options. But you can see from this one pattern, I can do a lot. And then a lot of my stuff is just, I'm a big fan of Native American artwork. My younger brother was a dancer, a traditional Native dancer, men's traditional style. So we used to go on the powwow circuit a lot. And again, that had to do with some scouts and the Order of the Arrow stuff. And then I was a ceremonies guide for Order of the Arrow and dance guide for them. So my job was to teach them how to make the regalia, all the things they wore at powwows. So that's why I kind of have an idea of how head bonnets lay and things like that, and all the different parts. So it's a little easier to carve when you kind of know the parts and you've handled the real deal. But excuse me, we are making, these are supposed to be fun. They don't have to be dead accurate, right? So again, with this guy right here, they call him the Scout in the catalog. There's options. You can get a little more realistic. You could, wood burn the feathers in a little bit. This is the same pattern, just done a little different. There's always options, So what we'll do is we'll get started. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my my soft V, and I'm going to slowly. I take small bites at first, and again, I'll talk to you, and I'm not talking down to you. The way I teach scouts, okay. Again, you could see my hand there, but I'm not really pushing on. I'm taking small bites, and what I've learned is, especially young people who are new at anything, they're not that aggressive with the tools, so they usually take really light cuts, which is good. They're being safe, but they're being tentative because they don't know really what they're doing yet. So I tell them, we take small bites, because if you take a big bite, you're gonna, like if you take a big bite of your sandwich, you could choke and die, right? Well, if you take a big bite of wood and you slip, you're gonna get hurt. So I'm just outlining this with this soft V. I'm setting up my mound, so to speak, and yes, it gets weird because when I carve, I usually have music going, so this is kind of quiet, but I get it. And then the other question I get is, how long did it take you to do that? Which you guys all get that, right? What is the first one? What kind of wood is that? Then how long did it take? And I subscribe to the Chris Hammock theory of, well, once you get 400 of them done, then it kind of gets easier, right? So if I'm just doing this on my own, about 20-25 minutes for one of these. The other one is about the front facing on the corner is about 40 minutes. But again, I've done almost probably 1,000 of them. So you can see we've done this outline. So I've set the different mounts. We know this is the hair. This is going to be the hair tie or the band. We got the 2 feathers dropped, and then there's the face. So then what I'll do is I'll go to my knife. I like to round off these corners first, knock off the corners. And then I like to get rid of any of the saw marks. I'll do the same back here. And like I tell the scouts, if you feel it biting in, switch direction. Excuse me.
Hey, Chris, there's a question in the chat, and I'll let you answer this. Where do you purchase your hardware and bolo ties from?
It is.
We're going to put that in the video description as well.
Yeah, Thunderbird Supply. They're in New Mexico. They're online. You could Google it. Let me drink of water. It's awfully dry here. It's like 75 degrees and sunny out, and my allergies are acting up. But yeah, Thunderbird Supply. They're on I-40, both in Flagstaff, Albuquerque, and Gallup. But they have all the bolo stuff there. And I've done mail order with them, but my wife and I, when we traveled through New Mexico for our scout trip, we dropped a lot of money there because my wife does jewelry work as well. So I do too. We have too many hobbies, but let me know if I'm out of frame.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah. So go ahead.
I was just going to say, part of the auction, you also are included a hat. What was the hat from?
Yeah, the hat, and it's out of my reach right now. I'll show it at the end, but it's purple and gold Viking colors, just because they were nice colors. But it's from that carving seminar we developed at the Boy Scouts National Training Center in New Mexico at the Philmont Scout Ranch. We've held that 4 times now, so 4-week long. It's a 1-week class. It's much like any of these roundups. We actually call it the Woodcarvers Roundup for the Boy Scouts. But it's a beautiful facility, and the Sangre de Cristo Mountains is actually in Cimarron, New Mexico. A place warm to my heart because I've been there 11 times since I was a youth, backpacking and stuff. But I didn't know it. The first time I went was 1980. I was like 14 years old, backpacking. And then I remember when I got back, my grandfather had asked me, he goes, "Oh, what'd you do this summer?" And I said, "I went backpacking in New Mexico." And he goes, "Oh, where in New Mexico?" "Oh, I'll go Raton and Cimarron." And the weird thing about this is when I got off the train in Raton, I'd never been to New Mexico before, and this is 1980. I felt a very weird vibe, like I was home, like I'd been here before, but I hadn't. Well, lo and behold, I talked to my grandfather, and he goes, "We're in New Mexico." I said, "Oh, Raton, Cimarron." He goes, "Well, I was born in Raton." And I had no idea that that's where our family was from. No idea. So now when my wife and I go back there, it's all mining town, the town of Dawson and things. Well, that's what it was. My great grandfather was a miner. He raised a family over there. And then all my grandfather and all his siblings were born in different mining towns throughout New Mexico. And you could see the track of where they were born. They slowly were moving their way to California. So that's how we ended up here. But again, that scout camp, wonderful place. If you decide if you'd like to go, it's something you could take your family with. And my wife enjoys all the hikes and the crafts and the campfires. There's options. You could stay in a tent with the concrete floor and electricity. You could stay in an apartment. You could stay in a fancy tent with electricity and a beautiful king-size bed and bunks for the kids. They'll house you wherever you like, but you're going to pay for it. And then it's all the food's pretty tasty. A lot of Dutch oven desserts in the evening, and just beautiful scenery. So that's the Philmont experience, and they're going to do that again in 2027. So you can see I'm slowly making around, just getting all those saw marks off. And that's something to think about too. I know people, they spend a lot of time on your carving, whether it's this or a figure. And people kind of freak out about, oh, I don't know if I want to paint it because I just spent so much time, my paint's going to ruin it. Or they don't know how the paint's going to flow. I would advise you take a piece of wood, scrap wood, carve it, and then test your paint on it. Because if you just paint on the uncarved, it's not going to give you the same look or the same surface. So you see, we're here right now. What I'm going to do, we've kind of knocked off all those edges. This hair is going to tuck under that feather. The other thing to think about is this feather will make it the back feather. So it's going to tuck under this feather. So that means I could go a little deeper. We could use our and when we're using a V, I like to you're not using the trough, use the wings as a chisel. Okay, so you could use it as a chisel. See how that pared that down pretty quick for me? And slowly as I'm doing this, we start to develop the quill or the spine area. Now I know there's all sorts of crazy names for the parts of a feather, but I'm not going to go there. I barely got through anatomy when I went to paramedic school. It was tough enough calculating drug dosages and metric when we've learned standard, but we're all good.
Hey, Chris, how many of these do you carve a year? Do you have any idea?
You know what? It depends. I don't know. Is this? I don't know. This is the standby box right now. I need to paint more. I like carving more than I paint, but it just depends. It depends what I'm in the mood for. The good news is I enjoy it. The bad news is I have several other hobbies. I do native beadwork. I do native silversmithing. I used to turn a lot of pens on my lathe. And then with all these crazy new knives, I've gotten into spoon carving and stuff. So yeah, it just depends when I'm in the mood. Actually, part of this too is when I get a handful done, I give a few handful to my local scoutmaster, the guy who runs our troop, and he hands them out to kids that are doing good things and setting a good example. And then I have a list of collectors around the country. They buy them from me, and then that helps pay for a program. And then I have put some on eBay. I'll probably put some of these on eBay. And I've been fortunate because, sometimes $50, sometimes $150. So just depends, but it's really when I'm in the mood. It is, I will say, like I showed you this, even when I was on the job working before I retired, I would carry a baggie like this full of blanks, and especially Christmas time, or I'd have Santa ornaments or blanks, and I would just carry it. And when the mood hit me, or especially at the firehouse, you're there for 24 to 48 hours. You train all day, you run calls, but in the evening, the time is your own. So I would carve. During Christmas, I would teach my crew how to carve ornaments for their families. So here we are. We've got that. We've carved this area here. Now we're going to work on that nose and that face. And we're going to get into this part right here, right? So I've got my smile line. We got to find that nose where it's going to be. So I like to kind of put it, this is going to be, and I always draw stuff a little larger than it's going to end up, because remember, we're in a subtractive art. I'm going to take things away and it's going to get smaller. Well, I tell the scouts, if you draw it small, it's going to disappear by the time you carve it. So always draw it a little bit bigger than you want it. So we're just going to go ahead and start to define this area here. Define this here a little bit. And again, this is not the final. I'm just getting it laid up. I'll come in with my knife a little bit. And I'm not gouging away. And I don't know if we didn't really mention it, but in the drawings I sent out, notice grain direction is north and south, from top of the head to the bottom. Because I wouldn't want to do all this detail on end grain. So again, that lays out the grain direction. We're slowly setting up the mouth, and we're gonna do just like in a like real quick. So just like in a front facing, he still has a mouth barrel, right? So here's the flat. There's three planes to it: the side, and the flat of that mouth barrel. We're still doing that, but we only have to worry about that plane and the side plane. The other thing I didn't mention is you're probably going, maybe you've noticed, most of my guys are all facing to the left. Well, I'm left-handed, and this is much easier for me to carve this way. Sorry for some of you who aren't, but I can carve on the other side, but it hurts my brain and it takes twice as long. So this is the way I carve them. So we're going to talk about that mouth barrel. Let's see. So I'll just make those little 3-point triangle cut right here. Start to show that. Then this is the thing with this fine tip knife. I'm not going to dig in there, okay? And I'm going to come in at a little bit of an angle. And I'm just going to take a little slice. Again, in my mind's eye, I know where that tip of the knife is, okay? And I'm going to come back and I'll take that back out. I'm sorry, my thumb's in the way there. I'll take that back out. Okay. So we've kind of got that smile line. It's not the end of it. Now I'm going to come back and do that little 3-corner chop right there, cut. Okay, we're starting to see where the nose is. It's not done yet, but this is where I'm going to start setting up that plane of the mouth barrel. I'll come here at the top of the mouth. That helps right there. Now I'm going to go down a little bit, and I'm just taking small bites. But you can see I start to set that plane up. I'm not going to blow on it because some of those old timers will make me pay a dime, or get out my potato brush and piss off Dwayne.
So there's another question in the chat. They want to know if you sell kits or share your patterns. I know we've posted some on social media that you released for today's meeting. Is there other places where you can get those?
So what I will do, I do not sell my kits because I'll tell you what. Here's the deal. When we set up for Jamboree, at times we will cut out 600 blanks. We'll do like 100 of these boots, and this is how we do it. This is a stamp. This is a homemade stamp out of could use that craft foam or whatever. But this is made from Whittler Bob Rittmeyer, who passed away last year. He bought the business, which Ed Chobe, I told you, the granddaddy. Ed Chobe had a slide business from like the 1940s until 1988, 84, 88. And he had all these patterns and stamps, just like the one that I showed you. And he sold them for like, I know back when Ed Chobe, they were like 50 cents. It was you could buy this in his catalog for like $2 back in the 50s. Now this is $300 slide. But they sold these. And Bob, this is a Bob Rittmeyer pattern. But Bob, he knew he was sick before he passed away last year. He offered me his business. And I would have had to drive out to Pennsylvania, load up a truck, and bring it all back. And my wife said, not if you want to stay married. We're not bringing all that stuff to the house. So, no, that business, mail order business he had is gone now. I do believe he had a partner that sold directly to scout camps wholesale. But long story short is, no, I don't have the kits. The one thing I did do is Bob gave me, actually, I bought them from him, all his stamps. But he told me, don't sell them because it would go against what his partner's got going on. So I said, that's fine. I don't have to sell stuff because I give all my things to the scouts that I work with. Again, I don't charge for my classes. But as for these other patterns that I have, the pile of patterns I had somewhere here. Where is it? Anyway, like all those I showed you in the bag, I have a bunch of these, and like the ones that went out in the advertising, I have several more. I will print out on a piece of paper and I'll post for you guys. And they are shot to scale on a 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, and you could use them as patterns. So I'll share those with you, no problem. I don't know if that answers the question, but
yeah, it does. Thank you.
Yeah.
Another question: anyone who's taught a merit badge has a colorful story helping the scout succeed. What's one of yours? Do you have one?
Well, I just, like I said, at the end, I'm just tickled that they're so proud that, you know, as we say, you can't slap that smile off their face, but they're just so proud that they did something they didn't believe they could do at the beginning of the day. Those of you who've ever been to scout camp, you know, that merit badge is taught usually over 5 days, 1 hour a day. Mine is an 8-hour day because I just set it up on a Saturday. Usually at a merit badge thing or at I'll get the troop together and the scouts that want to take the class take it. I don't know about a succession story, and that's the thing in designing projects like this boot, whatever. Our job and your job as a teacher is to set your student up for success. If I come out and show them all this super stuff right at the beginning of class, they're going to go, there's no way I could do that. And that's why we just show these basic step boards and stuff like that, turtle or whatnot. They're like, okay, yeah. And then even in the practice, when we teach them how to use the tools, we spend about 40 minutes using those 3 or 4 tools that we introduce them to on a scrap piece of wood. They gain confidence with that because we're showing them proper technique. Again, I say it's none of this, and you've all done it and seen it. It's none of the Boy Scout hack and whack. We don't do that. It's all the push cuts and, you know, the safer cuts. So with that being said, I will say one of the best conversations I ever heard, and that's how I love. We're sitting there because, you know, we all just like at a roundup, right? You're sitting there, you're carving with a bunch of characters and stories. I say it's like fishermen, right? We all start telling lies. But listen, I had a group of kids. Again, life is rough because here in LA, our scout program has a beautiful property in Cabrillo Beach. So it's right on the water, palm trees, overlooking a bay in LA by Palos Verdes. If you ever watch NCIS, you've probably seen it because they use part of our scout facilities as a filming location. Anyway, I'm sitting there on this deck with a bunch of kids. I had 8 kids in that class. And they're carving and talking, but I thought the funniest thing is, again, these are modern day kids. teenagers. They're talking about the qualities of the filament for their 3D printers. And I'm going, whoa, whoa, whoa. I give the old timeout. I go, okay, look at me. You guys do realize what we're doing here is the original 3D printer. This is how machinists made parts. This is this, that. They just gave me they just gave Mr. Gardea the old eye roll and said, yeah, yeah, yeah. And kept along their way. So I always thought that was kind of a funny thing is here we are doing the original 3D printing, but no, they can't wait to get home to their computers and there are people online. There's a whole Woggle Facebook page, which in Europe these are called woggles instead of slides. They make a lot of 3D printed stuff, so it's pretty interesting. But I don't know if that answers your question, but so you can see we've gotten to that. We've got that nose, we've got that mouth barrel, and I can soften that a little bit. This is where we're headed on that. The one thing I put the mouth in, this is kind of, I start at the bottom. I'm going to make a V cut basically. I'm going to, a stop cut is what it is. So I'm right at that line, right at that peak. So right here where that peak is for the mouth, I'm going to put a little angle there. It's just a stop cut. And then I'm going to come back the other way and pop it out with another stop. And I'll keep going. Now, could I do this with a V tool? You could if your V tool is very sharp. Otherwise, you're going to get some tear out. Yeah, just keep going back and forth. So I've got that mouth right there. And then I'm going to come and do the same thing. I'm going to start at the bottom one first, because I found if I do the start at the top, I usually chip out the bottom lip. And there's a little bit of an angle there and there. And again, it's just a stop cut. And that gave us our mouth. He's a serious fella. So whether he's a scout or a warrior, and I've done some with their mouth open, given a war whoop and things like that, with their feathers more flying in the wind. You know, there's, like I said, once you've got this down, and I'm a big Western fan. I watch a lot of cowboy movies and Dances with Wolves and what's the one, Christian Bale, Hostiles, Last of the Mohicans. You know, granted, Hollywood is not always that accurate, but boy, I get a lot of ideas. In Arizona, the Herd Museum, my wife and I go to that art show, and because I like carving Kachina dolls as well, just because I can't afford the real ones. But we'll go study that artwork, you know, Remington and Russell, just looking at all the, you know, you could look at all this on the line or on Pinterest now, and I get ideas for different headdresses. Like I said, like the one that's going up for auction. This is one that's not finished, but this is like a Pawnee Scout, and I've done Apache guys in Arizona. This is one who's like a cowboy cavalry scout. Again, just the profile. Again, I chose this to share because I see a lot of carving on the corner, and I do it and I love it, but you don't see a lot of this profile relief carving. But again, this is another option for slides. But I like doing all like the cowboy cavalry figures and stuff like that. So you can see we did our mouth. Now you'll see there's options for that. We could come in and do I could cut under there, and it kind of gives you a different look to that chin. Or we could just keep it like that, and you just got that firm chin there. I will knock off the bottom edge a little bit, take the, you know, our face doesn't have any hard corners on it, like that. And then for the nose, I'll just round this off a little bit. If I want to accentuate it, I could do another 3 chips stop cut deal. I'll try and clean up this mess here in the eye. And then a lot of them, I don't put the eyeball in. I could do it, but I just like to accentuate it. Again, when I tell the scouts, all these lines right here, that's why I try to tell them, be a little more, take a few more bites instead of being real aggressive. But what I learned a long time ago, lines make shadows, and shadows tell our brain what we're seeing. Okay. So if we're real tentative and timid and we don't make deep enough lines, we don't make shadows, we're not going to see the character or the design. So I encourage the scouts to do a little bit better, and take, they'll bring it to me, and Mr. Gardea is this, right? And I go, you're on the right track. Let's just take a little more, make some more shadow. So we'll keep making some more shadows. You hear my wife talking to our 4 cats. But does that help? Is that a better view there? So that I could take down this nostril a little bit. I'll show you a little thing. Actually, I like his mouth like that. There is one, let's see. And you can see it's just the same as Ed Chobe's face there. He's got that down turn. He did the little outtake of the chin. You can see how he does his eyes. It's just a stop cut underneath. We could do that if you want, but what I like to do is, and see this long knife, it could work, but I like to use, I think Rich makes this, what do they call this? A cat's paw, something, lamb's paw or something like that. Could get in there and just, and again, I'm not really taking a big slice. I'm just slowly pushing it, and then come back and I'll do another one. Could do a relief cut right there, and I'll come and meet it, and pop that chip out. So you see that I get that little crow's foot there for the eye. And again, we're just a suggestion. What I tell, and Blake, you asked me how many of these do I make. I learned a long time ago, and I say this to the scouts. I go, this is all practice. Everyone is practice. It's reinforcing a cut. And I go, it's all practice till the masterpiece appears. So when you're done, you're done because you're happy with it. So, and that's why, I try to make them all look a little different, but it is what it is. So the next thing I'll kind of work on is, this is a hair wrap, right? So this is just a quick, easy band. Like this, right? And this is the simplest way. And you'll see we're gonna put in some lines just to suggest hair flow. Doesn't have to be really crazy. You can see, it doesn't show that much detail, but I put some little eyebrow in. We put some lines there to show like it's a cord or a wrap. There's all sorts of options there. Now I will say, this is a Gary Fallon piece I picked up at Renegade, I think in 2015 in Tennessee. I like how he does this wrap, and you'll see how it's stepped like that. And then how he has the tag hanging at the end. I think Gary does a tremendous job on his natives. Again, just a detail. Could you put a braid in there? Sure you could, but I've tried carving braids. I know Floyd Radigan showed me how to do it, and Ryan Olson as well. But again, it hurts my brain to think about a braid, even if I draw it out. So I like this wrap method. I know natives, they either used like a single wrap, they did this wrap. Some of the like Delaware, Northeast, they used otter wraps. Even the Plains, the Sioux used an otter fur wrap. So there's just different options, but I really like that. It kind of gives you another texture and dimension. I like that it gives you another color pop. Okay. The other option too, which is, could you carve? You can carve one with an ear. Put the ear there. But I've been watching, what is it, Dark Winds on Hulu. It's Navajo or Dene. Seeing the way they wear their hair and stuff like that. Sometimes you could see the ear, sometimes it's hidden. Just depends what you want to do. This is a work in progress right now. Another Pawnee Scout. He's got a silver earring. This will be a bear claw necklace with some beads. See his hair is stiffened up with some bear grease and got a little bit of color to it. This is an old pattern. I think this is a Jeff Springer pattern. I modified a little bit. His was a cowboy. This is just like a guy out there, you know. Again, I did that little chin thing there. I put a cut in on the chin as opposed to just leaving it like that guy. So you can see there's options. Again, we're trying to be successful. So we'll get back to this fella here. So one thing we're going to think about is that this wrap right here, so this hair is being cinched. So I'm going to suggest that it's being tucked in right there. So again, just the 3-corner cut, right? I'll do a stop cut, and then pare it in a little bit. Stop cut, pare it in. See how we've tucked that hair into that wrap, that hair wrap? I'll do the same thing here. Do the top so I don't chip it out. We could kind of shave this down a little bit so the hair look like it's sprouting out of there. You know, the other thing I'll talk about too, just since I've been carving since I was a kid, is community. We are a carving community. And that dynamic has changed dramatically with the computer. Like I said, I started carving, watching my brother and fellow scouts. Then I learned about the California carving clubs. Then I learned about the Brotherhood of the Blade teaching at the National Jamboree. So I started working with them. And again, with every community I've worked with, I've learned something. I truly am a lifelong learner. I've been to, I don't know, I've probably been to 10 different renegades or rendezvous, as well as hosting 4 of them myself in New Mexico. Actually, and I've stepped back from that as an instructor. Now, Mark Wagner, who's another scout carver out of Buffalo, New York, I've handed over to him. Again, there's probably nothing to do that he's a fellow firefighter, but you know, that's a whole nother brotherhood. But community, we're all part of this large carving community. And the more we get together, the more we trade tips and tricks and projects. I think it just enriches our community. And that's like Yaron over at the Woodcarvers Academy. What they're doing over there is tremendous. What Dave and Blake are doing here is amazing, because we're using new technology to reach other folks, you know. And again, we're promoting and we're getting wood carving out there. I know that, and I've seen it, because again, our clothes, how that started to tear. So I'm going to take it from the other direction. Maybe I got too excited, took too big of a bite, but I'll flip it. And this happens all the time at Scout stuff. You know, oh, I ruined it. I go, no, you didn't. Just take it from a different thing. Remember, I always tell the Scouts, wood is like people. No 2 pieces are alike, and each one is special. So it's going to be handled a different way. But we're getting a little bit of tear out there. You can see I'm starting to kind of shape this feather a little bit. And again, this is going to be below the other one, so I'll do a little stop cut, angle cut. Again, I don't know if you could tell, I'm not putting a lot of pressure. Yeah, this knife is sharp, but I'm taking small bites, just small bites. Again, I'm doing this by eyeball because I've done so many of them. But so this right here is going to be my quill. of the feather, and then I'll put another one right down the middle here. Is that dark enough for you? Does that help your mind's eye there?
Yeah, that's coming through real well. Thank you.
And then again, just small cuts, minding where the tip of my blade's going to be. And if I can't find it, I could come back with my V to accentuate a little bit. This is a Stubai soft V. They make a lot of different sizes. And again, we're talking community. I could order online, or I could just call Chris Willick direct, right? Just like I could call Belch over at Belcher Woodcarving direct, but he loves to talk. But you know what? We're part of a community, a woodcarving community, and we're sharing ideas, like which tools work best for us, or and we've seen it. We've all seen it. Steel quality has changed a bit as different owners take over. So yeah, some tools change. I will say I'm very grateful. I got started early enough to where I have some full sets of Ron Wells chisels and knives, and that flat grind is just incredible. I did regretfully sell off most of my Diopson forge tools because I didn't know that I just wasn't using them. So I said, well, maybe I could use the money for something else. And then I come to realize when the prices went sky high when I sold them, that they were discontinued. And lo and behold, I still have a few of them I didn't know I had. I keep most of my knives in a toolbox. Well, I have 4 toolboxes, but then I use tackle box trays to keep all my backup knives. So and I put them in the rotation. The other thing out here in California, there is a knife maker, and he's a very good friend of mine, Joe Gertner. I'm sure Dave probably knows it from all the shows Dave used to do out here in California, Dave Stetson. But Joe, he's in his mid 80s now, so he's slowed down on making knives. But I learned a lot from him. I'm not a knife maker, but I do metal work. I make for my jewelry work, I'll make metal stamps to do Navajo or native style silver work. So he taught me how to heat treat. Again, it's that community. Could I have learned it from YouTube? Maybe, but YouTube wouldn't show me, to go from cherry red to straw to this and that. And yeah, they could tell you the direct temperature, but if you've got somebody who's done it, they can walk you through it a little bit better. But again, community. We're all part of this community, and the more you get out to stuff, and like I said, get out to I'll be in Utah next month for the Rocky Mountain Carvers Roundup, and that's where I met a few years back. It's where I met Chucky Ducky and a lot of us, and just so many different people, and it's fun because in the evening we sit around, we'll carve a little bit more, or we'll just get together and have dinner, and again, we build that community.
Hey, Chris, there's a few more questions in the chat.
Go ahead.
What size ring do you use on the back of your slides?
That's a good question. And so here's the deal. This is the piece of wood. It's a 1/2 inch thick. I use wood glue, okay, because I know that other people use different epoxies and whatnot, but I use wood glue. So if I could walk in my shop and not every horizontal surface was covered with something, I'd get to my table saw, I'd change a dado blade, and I'd make this. But no, I'm not that organized. So this is roughly how it is. So you can see it's probably 1 3/4 inches wide or long. That little gap in there is about 1 inch, and it is about a little over 1/2 inch deep. So, and I could put this out again. I'll make a drawing of it if we need to, but this is the loop I affixed to the back. I do it at the end. So after I've painted and I used to use turd polish, but I don't so much anymore. But after I've done all the paint work, I try and sand it clean, and then I'll glue that loop on the back. And you'll see sometimes it fits perfectly. Sometimes I have to shave it down a little bit. But I'll use wood glue, just regular wood glue on it, and that's how it goes. Does that help?
It does. So another question, given your experience with the Scouts, what are one or two things that the carving community should do to attract younger people?
That's a great question. And I always say from experience, with the Huntington Beach Club out here, and then the Orange County Woodcarvers Club, they would have an annual show. And I know that shows are tough, and it's tough to get people in there. But I applaud the Orange County group. They haven't done it lately, but they partner with the local Cub Scout and Boy Scout troop. And let's face it, a lot of us, our club members, are older people. So they get the Cub Scout and Boy Scout group to come in, set up the tables and chairs. They promote to their friends and family. And then they would share the lunch or whatever, the snack booth proceeds with the Scouts, who also volunteered to run it. And then during the show at the local park, they would actually have one or two of the club members sitting down with the Scouts and carving projects with them. So, you know, it's a partnership. Again, community, it's a win-win. That's what I've seen personally. And I think that's a pretty good thing to try. Yeah, I know people are, Scouts and insurance and liability. If the Scouts are registered and it's an official function for them, they carry their own insurance and liability. So it's not something your club would have to worry about. Of course, if you're having a public event anyway, your club is dealing with that. But that's my answer to that question. I've seen it work. But you know, again, let's face it, we've all seen clubs dwindle with our age group. That help?
It does. Another question, do you have a website or Facebook page where they can see more of your work?
So I do not have a website. You know, that's the thing. People always ask, when are you going to do YouTube content? When are you going to put out this and that? I'm not that tech savvy. Yeah, I could run a defibrillator, but that's about the extent of my thing. And I could buy stuff on eBay, but that's the extent of my experience, which drives me up the wall because all three of my adult children are do work in social media and computer stuff, and I'm sure they could walk me through it. But you know, you're a parent, you know what the eye roll you get when you ask for stuff like that. So the best answer I have for that question is, if you go to Pinterest and you type in my name, Chris Gardea, it's Gardea. I've been called everything else, but Chris Gardea, and put in neckerchief slide or carved neckerchief slide. I have uploaded pretty much almost every slide I've ever carved on Pinterest. So you can see my work there. I haven't uploaded anything lately, but that's got the bulk of my work on display. And no, I don't have a website. Most of my sales, I've established a group of collectors that call me, what do you got? What do you got? You know, and then I lay out what I've got, and they pay for it, knowing that they're supporting the scouting carving program in my area. Anything else?
So if someone sees something that they like, can they reach out to you and see if they can purchase one from you?
Yes, yeah, we could do that. We could do that. I have had commissions and stuff, and I've done really small stuff to full-size totem pole stuff for the scout camps. At our Lake Arrowhead camp up in the mountains, there is a chief that greets you as you drive into the camp with an old totem pole that needed to be fixed, and I carved that for him. I've carved big 14-foot ranch signs for guys out in the desert. It's, you know, and I didn't take any pictures, which is dumb of me. I just was, firemen are funny that way. It's like, hey, can you do this? I go, sure, I'll do it. You do it, and then you just set it off. I go, man, I did not take any pictures of that. So, but and I think a lot of us are this way. Is especially with the advent of the computer, it's like you see something, you go, I think I can do that. And my shop is a testament to, I think I could do that, because lathes and everything else and routers and grinder with all sorts of attachments for carving logs and everything, and chainsaws, and then like I said, my bench for silver work. And I started doing printmaking, which is like lithography and actually carving, because you're carving into wood to make a wood print. The other thing I will talk about community is here in Southern California, they have a lot of junior colleges, community colleges, they call them. And a couple near me have really great art programs. I actually took a wood carving class at a local community college. That's how I met Joe Gertner over 30 years ago. He was teaching a wood carving class at a community college. And that's how we became friends for well over 30 years. But yeah, so I don't know if did I answer that? I'm a rambler.
No, you're good.
So you can see how we've got that band defined. I'm kind of liking, we've got that defined there. So let's talk about this this hairband, like or the wrap here. We could again, I'm going to do that little push there, stop, cut, push, meet it so it makes a little V. Maybe go all the way around there. So it looks like this is a piece of cord or something wrapped around. And then we'll make a little, we could leave it like that, or let's see, we could just do another bite there. That help? Does that work for you? Oh, we could fix that. Again, these are all sketches. These little carvings are nice because they're small. So it's a sketch. You can exercise. It's a good exercise. There's sometimes you feel like, hey, I want to carve something, but I don't want to get into a big project. These are a fun little project to work on. It kind of works. So here's another thing. Let's talk about this. This is a cord, right? And it's wrapped, but it looks pretty harsh with those planes on it. Yeah, I could leave it that style, or I could use this. This is a little buff. Now, those of you who have a Dremel will sell you 2 of these for $8 or $10, right? I will say, and I'm going to give a shout out to Jeff Ferris. He's the first class I ever took in the early 90s. Jeff, I took his Indian face carve, right when his books were coming out. That man has a talent for explaining, carving a face, and he makes it easy. It's not complicated. And then he'll show you, and then you do it. And I did 2, I took his class twice, but he taught us back then, this is a Scotch Brite. They sell it, back then they sell it in sheets at metal, like welding shops. It's a heavy duty, some called it bearskin, but it's, again, it's Scotch Brite. I want to say it's about a 150, 120 grit. And we used to cut squares of it, put it in a mandrel, put it in our thing to quote, and it's not sanding, it's Jeff would call it blending the features. And again, if you've seen the cover of his book, right? This is the Jeff Ferris project I did back in the 90s. This is butternut, but it softened all the chisel marks with this, okay? And it's just a light sand on it. So And then, you know, if I left all the chisel marks on the hair and whatnot, and it softened all the feather work, you could see the hair wrap. It made all this skin. If I would have left all the chisel marks, it softened all of that. Okay. So I know some of you go, oh my gosh, sanding and carving. Yeah, we do the same thing. And some people, it's sacrilegious, but that's why Jeff called it blending. But anyway, so these little things I found, and there's a link on Amazon. I sent it to Blake. You could get 50 of these for $12, $13 on Amazon. And they work great. And that's how I would do here to kind of soften this. I just hit it real quick. Soften it. And the same thing too with this face. Like, I could leave hard angles, and it's up to you. You could leave this all hard knife things, and that looks great. That's his style. But if you wanted to soften it, I could take this and just hit it like that. So we'll do that here. And you see how that softened up that cord a little bit? So it softens it, and I could still leave that angular face if I want. I could knock it down a bit if I want. It just depends what you're looking for. I will say where I really used it is on this Pawnee fella. This is a head wrap, right? And I did my 3-cut triangular cuts. And then, since maybe we're going to leave his facial features chiseled and hard, and these feathers are chiseled, but I want to make this softer. Again, I'd hit it with this blending bit and knock it down. So there's options. There's all sorts of little tricks and tools. So again, these are on Amazon. I was told don't use red or greens because sometimes they bleed. Like they'll put that color on your wood. But these tan ones, they work great. And my wife, we use them too in our jewelry silver work as well. Kind of get the scratches out and have a clean surface. So again, the link is on Amazon for these. It's a bag of them will last me a year or two between both of us, my wife and I, doing jewelry work. But it's another kind of crossover tool. The other thing we want to do is maybe I'll draw the lines just because we're doing this demo, and you could put as much hair as you want in there. We could even put a little split to suggestion. Remember, not everything has to be exact. This could just be a suggestion, right? We're suggesting these are two feather quills, right? Like that. It's a suggestion. It tells our eye that there's 2 feather quills tied together, right? We could do it like we did on this guy. I'll show you what I do for, I like to put, and it's going to wipe out this, but we could recarve it in. I like to put a little hollow at the temple. So this is a kind of a scooping cut. I do this more on my front-facing Indians, and then sometimes I like to do a hollow here in the cheek a little bit. And there's different ways. I know some people put like a gouge right there to make it. This guy doesn't have one. There's one, the demo on the do like. He just has a little dimple type thing going on. But again, there's just all sorts of options you could do here. I already did a stop cut here. All right. And I'll come in and I'll just try and scoop that out. So it gives us, accentuates that cheekbone a little bit, gives us a little more. I didn't get rid of the crow's feet. I could accentuate those crow's feet a little bit more, because it did get a little bit of erase. Again, remember, shadow tells our eye what is there. So let's make more shadows. The thing is, I've got too much good LED light here, and we're not getting any shadows. But The other thing too is I'm starting to see all these fuzzies, so we get in there and clean those up.
Hey, Chris, we're coming up on about 25 after 4. Before we wrap up, can you talk a little bit about your finishing technique, your painting and stuff? I'm a big fan of your paint technique, and I think people would really like to hear how you do that.
Yeah, so what I do is I use acrylics. 99% of the time I do use acrylic. I use washes. For a lot of years I used BLO. And as much as it works well, I do not like the lingering odor. And as a fireman, I don't like the possibility of my rags bursting into flames. But I switched recently, the last year or 2 years, I switched to walnut oil. I think it's Mahoney's or McElhoney's or whatever. You know what? It works okay, but I find I have to do a couple dips of that walnut oil. And then I do washes. It's all watered down acrylic. I have toyed a bit with colored pencil, and I'll show you some of the stuff. This is a new design I'm working on. These are native knife sheaths. Again, just a simple flat piece of wood. It's more paint, but this is all done with colored pencil. So, and then that's a little piece of fabric ribbon I found. So it kind of helps. But then again, another one of my hobbies, I actually make these for real with native beads and stuff. And then I collect them. I've got some nice pieces that were made by the Sioux and whatnot. This would be a parfleche or rawhide version, not necessarily beaded. They actually used paints to make the real ones. But again, this would be a slide or a bolo. I could put out this pattern. Happy to share it with y'all. And this is a real simple carve. This is easy. But so that paint wise, I use that. I will say rarely, if I can even reach it. I don't know if I can reach it. I have used oil paints in the past. And this piece was done, oh gosh, this is 20 some years old, 22 years old. This is a piece of, this is basswood. It's not cottonwood. I do use a cottonwood root that I get from Thunderbird Supply when I'm on my travels. That's the traditional wood the Hopi use for carving kachina dolls. But this is my version of it. This is oil paint. And all watered down oil paint. And it's a very tiny, tiny bit. This was all wood burned and sectioned off. So all I did was I used white gas as my dilutant or diluent, but little tip of brush and the white gas. And it's a tiny spoonful each time because it evaporates so much. I touched the oil paint and I just touched it there. And the wood burning keeps it from flowing out and bleeding. But this is a kachina doll I did probably 20, 25 years ago. And I'm fascinated with the culture, and I have made friends with some Hopi carvers on the reservation, and what they do with the sharpened steak knife is absolutely mind-boggling. And my access to quality tools and have made some very nice trades with some talented artists out on the Hopi reservation. I have a nice collection of the real, like I said, putting 3 kids through college, I can't spend $1,000 on a kachina. So I carved my own, but making friends with the guys out there and trading quality tools, they are very happy to trade. So again, that's paint wise. And then I seal with a satin spray. Depends, either varathane or whatever. Because I don't like a gloss. You can see this was a gloss. To me, that looks like a plastic toy, and people can tell it's wood. If I do washes and this has a satin finish on it, you know, it's a little different. I think it's a little more rustic and a little more piece of wood rather than a cast piece of plastic. Does that help on the deal there, the question there? The only
It does. Just one other question. They're asking about your flesh color. What color do you use for the faces?
Excellent. Thank you for that. Yeah, I use terracotta. It's Folk Art, Americana, all those brands, they make it. I've been told, I think it's all the same manufacturer, just different pigment quality, but I don't know. I know Sarah and Dave have told me about that, but I use terracotta. There's terracotta, and I have used some burnt sienna a little bit, but again, it's all watered down. It's there is a really great carver. He's passed on. His name was John Anderson. He was out here at Riverside Clubs. He taught me a lot. He was a big Claude Bolton student. He had paint formulas. He was an engineer, down to how many drops of paint and how much water in his books. He self-published his own carving books. But I'm not that guy. I mix it and I test it out on a piece of carved wood to see if it's what I like. And if with the combined with the oil base and that, it shows, the grain shows through, which is I kind of like. People could tell it's a piece of wood. You could see, I think on this guy, you could still see how the grain shows through, right? So this washes, that is terracotta watered down. And I had to put a little bit more brown to show a little different there. But there you go. Any other questions? I hope there's other things you could do with the feathers, right? We talked about, like on this guy, the only other thing I do is I put little cuts or splits in there because we see how feathers separate sometimes. Same thing with this guy. And yeah, there is, if you want to get technical, the shape of the feather, the color on the feather, the color of the war paint means different things for different tribes. But hey, we're just making fun things here. You could, if I was doing a larger bust or something and wanted to be technical, I could, but these are just like I said, sketches. Again, this is more of a cartoony figure that from Jeff Springer. He's passed on, but again, he was another one of those Scout granddaddies. This was the 2005 National Scout Jamboree. I sat there with him and we carved together. But look at his thing on the wraps and his headband. So, and he used gloss enamel paint, but I like he highlighted the cheeks there. So, anything else? Any other questions?
No, I think that's it, Chris. We're a little after 4:30 Eastern time. Anybody else have any questions for Chris at this point? Okay, we're going to go ahead and call our auction. It looks like John Nilsson has won the bid. So John, if you'll stay in the chat here after we get finished. Chris, they're asking if they can get your email address.
Yes. Okay. So you're welcome to laugh because everybody does. It is Yoda, Y-O-D-A. And that was my firehouse nickname as a rookie because I was the most experienced rookie in my class. So they'd say, hey, go ask Yoda. So it stuck for 32 years. So the name is Yoda on Fire. All one word, Yoda on Fire at hotmail.com. Please ask me any questions. I answer my email more than I answer my phone. And yeah, there's no such thing as a dumb question. Just no math questions. That's horrible at math. So anything else I'm up for. But yeah, again, I thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate the opportunity to share this. Again, do what you can to share this skill and share that pride and craftsmanship with a young person. It keeps me going.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chris. We appreciate you coming in and sharing. We always look forward to talking to you, and I look forward to getting out there in Utah with you here in just a few weeks. So I'll see you out there soon.
Great job, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Just want to remind you all, next Saturday we'll have Tyler Borg that's going to be coming on with us. Again, he's an instructor that's going to be out in Utah at the Rocky Mountain Carver Roundup. We'll meet again next Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I just want to say thanks again, Chris, for coming in. Thank you all for joining us today. This has been the International Association of Woodcarvers. Thank you.